I was sitting on the edge of my bed, peeling dry skin from my ankles until they bled. I suddenly understood that I was paying $30 a month to slowly turn myself into parchment. I'm 84 years old. I do not use soap. And my medical record is cleaner than your hands after a bottle of hand sanitizer. I'm going to explain to you how your skin actually works before you finish destroying your natural immunity entirely. I look at my hands right now, and I see the deep lines of a life lived, but the skin on them is soft and alive. My skin breathes as freely as it did on the day I was born in 1941 in the rural backwoods of Tennessee. Right now, you are standing under a hot shower, rubbing yourself with lavender foam, certain you are washing away dirt and disease. Every time you apply that chemistry to your body, you are killing millions of invisible defenders that nature spent thousands of years building. In my childhood, nobody bathed every day. My father worked the land, and his hands always smelled of soil and machine oil. My mother made lye soap herself, and it was used only to scrub in machine grease or tar from the hands. We washed once a week in a zinc tub and heated the water on a wood-burning stove. Our skin was not dry. We did not know what allergy or eczema was. Everything changed when I came back from Vietnam in 1968. In the jungle, the body found its own balance, and the skin became tough but resistant to infection. The televisions were screaming at us that the natural smell of the human body was a crime. Advertising was convincing men they needed to smell like a pine forest from an aerosol can. My Ruth fell under that influence too. She started buying those pretty bars of soap in bright wrappers. We, like everyone else, started lathering ourselves every day, washing away the natural oils of our skin. By 70, I started noticing that my skin had become like thin paper. In winter, it dried out so badly that any clumsy movement caused cracks. I woke in the middle of the night from unbearable itching and scratched my shins until they bled. Ruth bought me expensive lotions and creams. The skin calmed down briefly, and the next day the itching returned with doubled force. A young man in a clean white coat looked at my legs, prescribed a steroid ointment, and advised me to wash with the gentler shower gel. As soon as the tube ran out, the skin started cracking again. This entire industry does not want me to get better. It wants me to keep buying the soap that dries my skin and then buying the cream that temporarily relieves that dryness. It is a closed loop, a perfect financial trap that we all voluntarily stepped into. I gathered all the plastic bottles from the bathroom, all the bars of soap, and threw them in the trash. Ruth looked at me in bewilderment. She asked what I was doing, and I told her I was returning to the factory settings I was born with. The first few weeks were hard. My body had been trained over decades to stop producing its own natural oils. I stood under the shower, breathing slowly, just massaging my body with water, and I waited. About a month and something remarkable happened. The itching disappeared completely. The cracks on my legs healed and never returned. Ruth came to me one evening, pressed her face against my shoulder, and said I smelled like a fresh breeze. A week later, she stopped using soap herself. Our skin is an enormous living landscape inhabited by billions of bacteria. They are not enemies. They are our first line of defense. When you lather yourself up, you are staging a chemical attack on your own army. You are paying corporations to first destroy your immunity and then sell you its pathetic artificial copy. They fear germs more than death, but the more they scrubbed their skin, the thinner and more lifeless it became. Thomas died at 72 in a completely sterile hospital room, surrounded by the smell of alcohol and pharmaceuticals. All his war against nature turned out to be meaningless. Nature always wins, and the more desperately you try to wall yourself off from it with soap foam, the more painful the collision with reality will be. Your skin is the chronicle of your life. Every wrinkle, every line is a map of the path you have walked. When I stopped using soap 10 years ago, I committed an act of existential rebellion. I told myself I would no longer apologize for being an old man. I became free from the imposed shame. In 1968, during a patrol in the Mekong Delta, we went weeks without seeing clean water. We were covered in mud, sweat, and blood. But it was there in that unbearable filth that I witnessed the cleanest expressions of the human spirit. When I returned to clean, soap-washed America, I saw people in expensive suits betraying each other for an extra $1, smiling with perfect white teeth. Their flawless hygiene could not conceal the rot inside. External cleanliness is very often used as a disguise for internal emptiness. If people spent even half the time they spend in the bathroom on clearing their thoughts and asking forgiveness from those they have hurt, this world would be an entirely different place. I remember the last months of Ruth's life. When illness confined her to bed, we refused hospitals. She wanted to stay at home among her things, among the smells of our shared life. A young caregiver kept trying to wipe Ruth down with wet wipes that smelled sharply of artificial chamomile. Ruth would turn away and grimace. She asked me to bring just a basin of warm water and a piece of old flannel cloth. I would sit beside her, wet the cloth, and slowly wipe her thin arms, her face, her neck. In those moments, there was no chemistry between us, no pretense, only warm water and the touch of loving hands. Her skin smelled of silence. It smelled of home. It smelled of a person who is preparing for a long journey and does not want to take anything unnecessary with them. The smell of soap is the smell of distance. It is the smell of strangers, hospitals, and public places. The natural smell of a loved one is the anchor that holds you in reality. I understood that our flesh is simply temporary clothing that we wear. What matters is only who you kept warm with that clothing while it lasted. You are running on a treadmill that leads nowhere. You work at jobs you hate to buy things you do not need to impress people who do not care about you. You stand in the supermarket choosing a shower gel with orchid extract, believing it will bring you peace. But peace is not sold in plastic bottles. Peace comes when you allow yourself to be imperfect, aging, vulnerable, and real. I am 84 years old, and every morning I simply rinse my face and body in cold water. I step out onto the porch of my house in Tennessee and look at the morning mist over the fields, and I understand that I am part of this earth. I am not separated from it by an invisible wall of glycerin and parabens. When my hour comes, I will lie down into this earth, and I will not be ashamed because I never tried to cheat nature. Your soul misses reality. It is screaming at you to wake up, to touch real earth, to feel a real wind, to allow yourself to simply be a living person and not a sterile mannequin. Try this experiment. Remove all those bright bottles from the shelves in your bathroom. Leave only water. The first few days, you will feel panic. You will feel dirty, watched, smelled. That will be your addiction speaking. But if you hold on, you will notice changes. You will notice how the texture of your skin changes, how that constant feeling of tightness disappears. Look at your hands tonight when you reach for that familiar bottle. These are hands that made mistakes, that held loved ones, that worked and grew tired. They are beautiful in their imperfection. Simply turn on the warm water. Close your eyes. Feel the drops running down your shoulders. Let the water wash away the tension of this day, but keep your essence. Accept your wrinkles. Accept your smell. Accept your mortality. Only then will you be able to truly begin living. I am 84 years old,